others. So what conclusions can we draw from these facts? Poor health, limited education, drug addiction, obesity, and low social engagement cluster in Republican-leaning rural and southeastern regions. All of these conditions, obesity, addiction, illness, poor education, and isolation, damage the brain. They impair reasoning, focus, memory, impulse control, emotional balance, and empathy. They increase anxiety, depression, irritability, and hopelessness. And people who suffer from these brain impairments tend to vote for Trump and Maga. These conditions and voting patterns are linked. Now, there are many different reasons that people voted for Trump, and not every Trump voter suffers from these conditions. And not every person who suffers with these conditions voted for Trump. And to be scientifically rigorous, we have to admit that correlation is not the same as cause. Nevertheless, we see a clear pattern here. When we face the mystery of how so many people could be susceptible to the lies, manipulations, brainwashing, and betrayals of Trump and his administration, and could sanction their cruelties, lawlessness, and destruction of democracy, and vote against their own self-interest, the answer here is clear. The data suggests that many people who are voting for Trump are cognitively and emotionally impaired. This isn't about moral failure. It's about neurological, psychological, and physical trauma. When people are anxious, depressed, ashamed, addicted, malnourished, and alone, they can't think clearly. They're not capable of sound judgment. They're more likely to lash out, to cling to comforting lies, and to act impulsively. That's why we see people cheering things they might otherwise find immoral. That's why they ignore the truth and support someone who promises revenge, validation, and emotional relief. They go into that voting booth and act on impulse, acting out in rage because they're living in a constant fog and can't make smart decisions. Imagine how mentally impaired you would be if you had a number or all of these conditions. You would be easily manipulated and fooled by big lies and false promises, and you wouldn't be able to process a rational, logical argument. And Trump takes advantage of that. And here's a disturbing question. What if the people in power want it that way?